how he had faith in God on that all throughout the whole way, and God rewarded him. And then that changed me to have faith in God and believe it all. And then now that just got me, like, just trusting God and everything.
So at first, So at first, when I was from the time I was born until about early sixth grade, I didn't talk right and I didn't listen to good stuff and didn't hang out with the right people. And then I was at my dad's church. And it was during a revival. And I thought I got saved on March. And then I thought I got saved, and then I went home. And a few months later, I had a bad feeling. It was really late at night. And I texted my mom. And then she came upstairs the next morning, and I got saved.
Well, I kind of told my testimony this morning, but for those of you that wasn't here, when I was in my younger days, but I ain't got too much of them. No, but when I was in elementary and middle school, I was a troublemaker. And there wasn't trouble, I was going to cause it. And there wasn't a fight, there was going to be one. And I wouldn't do my homework. I'd disobey my parents. I'd cuss my parents out. I'd tell them they was sorry parents. They wasn't good enough. They was good for nothing. Then Devin and Renee Phillips invited my dad to come to this church when I was probably 8. We came here for about a year, and then preacher would give altar call, and he'd ask everybody if they knew if they was saved to raise their hands, and something told me I shouldn't be raising my hand. And on Wednesday night, September 9th, I was sitting right back behind where Brandon was, and he was preaching on how sweet heaven is, but how hot hell was as well. And the preacher began to say how sweet heaven was, and how the streets were lined with gold and everything. And then he came up and he talked about how hot hell was, how you couldn't escape the flame. And he came up to the verse, and it got a hold of me then. And he read the verse where it says, "Depart from me, worker of iniquity, I never knew you." And as soon as he got done, I could not get here fast enough. I dropped on an altar right here, and Les, Teresa, and Thomas Webb back there, they all led me to the Lord back there in the back. And from then on, the next day at school, I came in, and my teachers, they thought I'd done dropped over dead and came back to life. I didn't know what to think. I didn't want to start a fight no more. I didn't want to be in no more trouble. And a few years later, actually a year and a day after I got saved, no, not a year, What's wrong with me? A few years and a day after I got saved. I'm timed on this, so yeah. Wait a minute, I was 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 8 years and a day after I got saved, God called me to preach, and I've been living for God ever since.
So when I was 8, I was at my old church, and the preacher was preaching on hell, and that scared me. I didn't want to go there, so I asked my mom if I could go up and get saved. I thought I'd get saved, but nothing really changed in my life. I was hanging out with the wrong people. I was mean, judgmental. But it was July 19th. We were back there in the youth room, and Scott goes, "Okay, y'all each have 3 minutes. Y'all have to share your testimony." And I got so nervous. Because I knew I didn't have one because the Lord had been dealing with me for months. And I just kept pushing him away, saying that I didn't need him. A few years ago, my parents started having a bunch of problems. And we started going through a bunch of stuff and financial issues. And I was questioning God, and I blamed it on God. And I questioned if he was really a loving God, why would he do that? But after I got saved on July 19th, he showed me that he puts us through trials to test us. He does it for our good, because without trials, we wouldn't be strong. And we wouldn't be able to help others and tell others what he has done for us. And since then, I've wanted to come to church, and I wanted to hang around the right people and wanted to be nice. But yeah, he's really changed me.
Okay, so gotta put the whole can in. When I was young, I'm a bit like Cody. I was a troublemaker. I'd always try and get in fights. I always made fun of people, something I did. And when I was young, my parents, they split up, and my grandpa, he passed away. And it was in August. And see, it was before he passed away, he looked at me and he said, "Haley, I don't think I'm saved." And I said, "Well, Papa," I said, "we got to do something about it." So I called one of his best friends. His name was Rodney. And I said, "You need to come up here and you need to talk to Papa, because he's not doing good. He's about to pass away and all." And he came up there that day. And it was August the 24th. He came up that night, and he said, I wasn't there at the time, but he called me. He said, "Haley," he said, "your papa got saved." August the 29th, he passed away. And after that, I was like, I've got to do something. It was bothering me. My parents split up. My little sister, she got in a lawnmower accident, and she messed her hand up. She don't have half of her thumb. So I was like, well, God, why me? Why are you doing this to me? So after that, I really can't remember the date. I said, it was a couple months after that, and I came up here. No, it wasn't up here. It was at my old church. And I looked at the preacher. I said, "I don't think I'm saved." So he said, and my best friend, she was with me, she said, "I don't think I'm saved neither." So we got saved that night. And still after that, I went to church for months on. And after that, I started getting in the wrong crowd. I started started dating guys that drink, smoke, it was something. So, and I did it because I'm the person that would follow. So after that, after we broke up, someone texted me, and he was like, he said, hey. And I said, hey. You know, and we had a conversation. He's like, well, because I told him I didn't go to church. And he was like, well, I think you should come to church. So I came to church. I've been going ever since. It was Wednesday. It wasn't in October. It was in May. And a preacher called. It was actually here. Preacher called, altar call. I was sitting right here. And I said, Lord, I know I haven't been following you like I should have. I said, I need to do something. And right after that, I stood up and I started crying. I had a new relationship, had a new life. I was a new me. After that, I've not been getting in no trouble. I haven't been arguing. Well, I've been arguing with my parents. And, yeah, I've been doing things I shouldn't have been doing. And, but whoever said the walk with the Lord will be fine, because it's really not. We'll have trials. We'll do bad stuff. Or not bad stuff. But, so, after, now I'm not doing no drinking, no nothing. New me. I've led 2 people to the Lord, and I'm going to keep on working.
In 5th and 6th grade, I wasn't who I should be, and who I was then I'm not proud of, and I hung around people I shouldn't, and I started doing things I shouldn't have, and I had friends that I thought were my friends, but they wasn't. And they just put me in a worse spot than I was. And last year in 6th grade, I went to school, and there was people there that I thought was cool, and I started hanging out with them, and then drama started happening, and me and this guy was right in the middle of it, because he was my best friend, but he really wasn't. He was just using me, and he got us caught right in the middle of it. So, and I wasn't listening to my teachers, and friends I had that were really my friend, I wasn't a friend to them. And Sunday morning, November 13th, 2016, Les was preaching about how on Judgment Day they would be casting people into hell. And I knew I didn't want to go there because I don't know who would. I don't know why he would. And so I couldn't sit still, and I got this feeling, because the Lord had been dealing with me like a couple weeks, and I got this feeling like, you need to go down to the altar. Like, it was like God tapping on my shoulder, like, go down to the altar, you're not saved. And I was like, no, get back in your box, stay there. I don't want them people to look at me. And when he called altar call, Les did, and like, I stood up, and at that point, I wasn't scared, because I didn't want to go to hell. Because, just these people looking at me, but the cost if I didn't go down there would be way worse. And so, then, I went down to the altar, and when I was walking down, I felt like it wasn't even me. I felt like someone was walking me down there, honestly, because I wasn't scared. And then, Amanda took me back in a room, and I gave my life to the Lord. And ever since then, I've been good, and then, devil caught up, and so he tried to make it way worse. But this summer, God showed me that I was saved, but God showed me that without Him, you're nothing, and don't be ashamed to be a Christian, because it doesn't matter how many people hate you, as long as the Lord loves you, it's good. So ever since then, I've wanted to be more like God, and yeah, yeah, that's it.
Well, I'm still young, and a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Oh God. It all started when I was in, born. And, and then when I was in 3rd grade, I bought a turkey the last day of school. And, he was my best friend. Anytime I had a problem, I would talk to him. And I felt like I didn't have any problems. And then, 3 years ago, on September 27th, he died. I didn't have nobody else to talk to. And I didn't care anymore. I was always bad in school and didn't care to do my work. After that, and then I had a dream one night that I saved my turkey. And I walked out to my backyard and I swore I seen him. And then when I got in 7th grade, I started hanging out. Well, in 6th grade, I started hanging out with the wrong people, and my grades were down, and I get kicked out of class and everything for the same stuff every day. And And then last year on September 7th at 10:40 p.m. I believe it was on a Wednesday night, and the preacher was preaching on Revelation. And at the end of the service, he'd always ask people to raise their hand if they were saved. And I always had a problem with it. Like, I couldn't raise my hand and be happy about it. And then September 7th at 10:40 p.m., I couldn't go to sleep. And I kept walking around. I go to bed, then get back up and walk around more. And then I told my mom, come read me a book. And then, yeah. And I went to my room and I was about to lay down, and I looked at my mom, and it just came out. I told her I didn't think I was saved. And then at 10:40 p.m., I asked the Lord to save me. And ever since then, everybody's at school has been asking what changed me, and they wish that happened to them. And like, they call me goody tissues and everything, but it's because I don't cuss. And I don't have any more problems with well, my grades are still, it's school. But I'm saved now.
Most of y'all know when I was a newborn baby, I was almost 30 weeks early. The doctor said I wouldn't make it. They said I wouldn't be normal. They said I wouldn't walk good. My parents couldn't hold me at all. They said I couldn't live to 24 to 48 hours. Then the next day they said that it was a miracle that I was breathing on my own. And they got to take me off the respirator. I was 2 pounds and 5 ounces when I was first born. I had a lot of tubes in me. Wasn't doing so good. Then I finally got to go home after 2 months later. Life went good after that. Then we were coming home from church. I think it was on a Wednesday night. And I don't exactly remember the day. But my mom and dad were talking to me in the car about how getting saved and how people go into heaven, how beautiful heaven is. Then I couldn't fall asleep one night. I was 7 years old,
So I asked them to get saved, and I got saved. I've been a witness ever since then. I witnessed to my best friends. The last one would be a bigger witness to people. Like what Scott said, write your testimony in 30 seconds, because you might have to meet a stranger one day and talk to them, because you may not have a lot of time, so you just had to shorten it to 30 seconds. So that's it.
Okay, so when I was younger, I went to church when I was like 5 or 6 with my cousin Brandy, and I don't remember the date or anything, but that night I went home to my mom and I told my mom that I wanted to get saved, and I had accepted him into my heart and as my Lord and Savior. And then when I was younger, my mom had gotten addicted to drugs, and I had to move in with my aunt, and I was there for about a year, and then my mom finally came back, and she was in my life, and she's now been clean for like 8 or 9 years. 10 years. And when I moved back in with my mom, our relationship wasn't the same, and I didn't really get along with my mom. And then when I was in middle school, I started to like get online, and I would meet people, and I would do things that I shouldn't have done. And then once it was around the time that my grandma had died, and really all I needed was to trust God, but really I was going to the wrong thing. And then about a year or two later, I went back and started doing the same thing. And it was because I was really stressed, and I thought it was helping me, but really I needed to lean on God. And then this past year, I started doing it again, and it went even further, and I actually went out and snuck out one night, and it was really dangerous, and I knew it was wrong. And when the next morning, all I could do was cry and regret what I did. And the first person I had called, because I didn't want to tell my mom, so the first person I called was Miranda, and I talked to her about it. And then a few days later, Mom had texted me and told me that she knew that something was wrong, and I got in a lot of trouble. And And even while I was in trouble, I still somehow was still talking to a person online that I had met, but we talked about like good things. We talked about God, and he was always there for me, and he was praying for me. He would pray for my mom while she was sick, and then I was scared to tell my mom that we were dating, but then finally my mom texted me and said that she had found out about it, and she was fine with it. She just wanted me to be honest with her, and now today I'm standing right here, and I didn't want to do this, and then I just kept praying about it, and finally I'm here.
I wasn't wanting to do this, but I was sitting right there and was just shaking, so now I'm up here. I got saved when I was 5, but I just felt like my mom was pushing it on me. So a few years later, my grandfather died. And he was the only one I could talk to. And then March the 24th came, and my mom was back there talking to the teen, and she didn't notice she skipped over me. And I told her I didn't have a good feeling. And then I got saved.
I wasn't going to do this. I was never a good kid, honestly. I grew up basically without my real dad in my life. And my mom dated this one guy, and I mean, he was okay, but he wasn't my real dad. And he didn't treat my mom like the way he should have. So I was glad when she left him, and we had to move in with my grandpa. But she got back on her feet, and she met my now stepdad, and he's been more like a father than anyone has been. But I went through this period in my life where I was really depressed, and I felt like I had nobody. And I would do things to try to get me out of that depression that weren't right at all. But I started coming back here to this church. And March 13th in 2015, I thought I got saved because my Nana was like, "Are you saved?" And I was like, "No." And then I kind of felt like she was pushing me to get saved, but we went to Teresa, and she took me back there, and I didn't feel excited about anything. And after I got saved, I felt no change at all. I was still doing bad things and everything, but on March 26, 2017, it was a Sunday morning, and the choir was singing Dry Bones, Come Alive. And I knew I wasn't saved. And Amanda came and she gave me a hug like she does every morning, or every Sunday morning. And she was like, "What's wrong?" And I told her I felt like I wasn't saved. So she took me back there, and Scott eventually came back there. And I was telling him how lonely I felt. I wanted somebody there for me. And during the prayer, I told God to be there for me when I was lonely and I had nobody. Because before I was saved, I felt like he couldn't do anything because he's not here. And after that, I've been doing so much better. I haven't been depressed or... Well, I mean, I still do bad things, but not like really, really bad things. But